Okay, so I know I said I was going to keep this intro brief, but while I was making that previous video, a few things came up, and just for the sake of being a little bit clearer, there's I figured I'd talk about a few more things here. On the topic of component modes and object modes where I left off last time, I think that is probably a bigger distinction that I want to emphasize now. Um, Partially because of the fact that right clicking in Maya, it opens up this menu. I mean, this kind of thing is called a marking menu in Maya, where you have it's like a um, radio command list, where in the center is just your mouse cursor, and you can kind of flick in different directions, right? So if I'm working really fast, I just basically control, and if I want to go edge, right, I'll just control click up, and I'm in edge mode. Right, so that's the real flexibility of the marking menu. You can make up your own custom marking menus, and there are a variety of different ways to access different marking menus inside of Maya, just to make the workflow a lot faster. Right. So you'll notice that at the top of this, when I right click over an object or even outside of an object with it selected, I can access the edges and I don't have to be over the object, so that's kind of cool. But then at the very bottom too, there's a bunch of other commands that I can do where I can access the history here and inputs. I can look at the UV sets. I can assign new materials. I can assign existing materials if I had a very um, fleshed out library within the scene. Right, so a lot of things I can access without manually hunting for it in the menu system. Alternatively, what you could do is instead of accessing things up here too, if I hold on the space bar, you'll basically get every menu item within Maya. So this is kind of important because if you see, if I just let go of this and we go back to our general menu here, at the very top of the list are menu items. These are very isolated. So if you really look at it, you'll see mesh and mesh tools. These are all just geometry related, right? That's because we are in the modeling UI theme, I guess that's a better way of putting it, because it's not like a mode, because it's not like you have to switch to, like Maya has to change to a different way of behaving in order to access, say, rigging, animation, or rendering. It's more to streamline the UI, right? So if I go to rigging, you'll see that these menu items change. Basically, the first, six to always be the same regardless, because these are very basic functions that work on every level, right? But when you're modeling, you don't necessarily need a menu item to get in the way of creating joints and etc. So I can kind of isolate things here and access things this way. Alternatively, I could, if I know where everything is, right, since I've been using Maya for a while, I'll just hold on spacebar, and then here's my modeling, here's my rigging, here's my animation, in effects and rendering solutions right here. Okay, so I don't have to switch between all these different modes. Um, so then let's see, there's that, and then if I hold on space again, even within this, right, even within this super condensed menu, if I right click on this here within inside that Maya button, I can go into perspective mode. I can change my camera this way. I can go like left, orthographic, back view, perspective view, right? Alternatively, I can just tap the spacebar, and that kicks me into a 4 camera view layout. And then here's my perspective. I can switch to my side. I can do the front. I can do the top, right? So I can work in this very classic 3D layout. I generally don't do that though. I tend to stay in perspective all the time, unless I need to do something very specific. That's when I will do an orthographic camera. But for character art, you don't really need that. And then let's see, we got that. Just to talk a little bit more about marking menus, if I just hold down the right click, right, this is the most basic operation. But say I want to do some more modeling tools, if I like hit shift right click, that'll give me a new set of operations where I can access the cut tool. So it's basically just clicking and dragging, and then to complete the cut you hit enter. If I'm making a series of cuts and I'm unhappy with one cut, I just hit the backspace button, and then that will get rid of that cut. Hit enter to finalize, and I can undo all this. So an undo in Maya is also just hitting the Z button. So it's not Control Z, but it's Z. And then I can redo by hitting Shift Z. And then let's see, I can go back to that Shift right click, and you can do insert edge loop, click and drag, add an edge loop, that kind of thing. I have a lot of hotkeys set up too, so that's also probably more efficient. But you can access a lot of things by just hitting a combination of either Shift and right click by itself, Control right click by itself, or Control Shift and right click will also give you more options. Right? So if I did like a Control right click, it'll allow me to convert different component modes to different other different component modes. Right? So if I had a bunch of edges, I can go to or a bunch of verts, I can do 2 edges. Now it selects all the edges that were connected to those verts. Okay. Yes. So, yeah, you can do a lot of things with that shift and right click combination. These options will change depending on which component type. Right? So it really does pay to know what exactly what your operation is, and which was the best way to achieve that, using which component type, and knowing what shift right click menu or which marking menu to access those tools. So that'll take a while, but I'm not going to cover how to go through all that. I just want you to know that those are there. And then I think that might cover this very, very basic introduction here. And okay, we'll just stop it here.